And here we are at Ayers Hall, Los Angeles Arboretum, for the monthly meeting of the Epiphyllum Society of America. Today we're going to have a presentation on dragon fruit. So let's see how things are being set up in here. Ooh. Oh wow, look at these beautiful cuttings. Wow. And rooted plants. They are looking fantastic. More cuttings. We have fruit.
Look at this one.
Oh, wow.
Cut fruit.
What's it taste like?
I don't know.
Salinas is good. This one doesn't taste good. El Brillo. El Brillo is not.
Oh, that's your.
This Buddha
where's
child is
gummy
good.
go?
Yes, it's nice. Very sweet.
What is is the yellow one sweet or is the yellow one bitter?
The yellow one is a little
Depends.
bit
This one is
sour.
lemonade.
Yeah, it's a little
Voodoo
bit sour.
child,
It's
I'm
not-
assuming that's a dragon fruit
That's
voodoo
right.
child.
Yes.
It's like a bigger.
Not an epi.
How have you been?
Pretty good.
I figured
Coming
everybody
in
was.
is good.
I figured everybody was at lost. That's the reason I.
Restroom? It's through that door right there.
Oh, look at the dark color.
Taco coming?
My goodness.
Taco house.
I didn't call any.
That is the general setup today. We've also got some informational boards here.
Same thing with Lisa. I got the yellow Columbia.
So you might want to take stills of these if you're interested.
Why not?
Because I don't know, we didn't take the medicine.
They're all the older ones. I got a younger one, but I want to take. Like anything else we do. So this is the top. That's the top. Yeah, it'll be all right.
Oh, it's neglected. That's the same.
How could you neglect that?
Beautiful
Oh,
flowers,
because remember the heat?
wonderful fruit.
From yellow and then it melted and then. I'm crazy with my tropical fruits and chocolate.
I really sent you some pictures of the
And here is a display board from the ESA. Jennifer Ann. Golden Temple. Diamond Bill. Flaming Torch. Callisto, one of my favorites. I love whites. Moloko. And the species, Epiphyllum thomasianum. There is Jester. Golden Splendor. Trapeze. Looks like Doris Pittman there. And Meadow Rose.
Pleasure to meet you.
How did you hear about it?
Got a brochure.
The Dragonfruit Reddit.
And it wouldn't be a meeting without our refreshment table.
Don Burnett pushed that one on me.
Yeah,
I
well,
had a
me
bunch
too. And the thing grows so. From Society of America, and again, thank you for coming in. There's some faces that I recognize from some other organizations, and also some faces that I haven't seen for ever since, I guess, before COVID. So welcome and good to see everybody. Okay, our guest speaker tonight is Eyal Givon, and he has a farm out in Moore Park, and it's called Dragonfruit Farm, Moore Park. And he has 5 acres of assorted dragon fruit, and which will probably tasting on some of them. And also at the end of the program, you'll be selling cuttings as well as dragon fruit, probably a lot cheaper price than what you'll see them at the market. So, and I give you Mr. Givon. Am I pronouncing your last name right? Givon.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, Mr. Eyal Givon.
Okay, so good evening, everybody that brave traffic to come here. It's more unique. The flower here, it's a flower of a variety called El Grullo. The flower is gorgeous. The fruit leaves a lot to be desired. So it's right here. In terms of flavor, it looks pretty, the fruit, the color is striking, the flower is amazing. Taste, it needs improvement. Okay, so, and by the way, while I'm talking, if anybody has questions, feel free to stop me and we can go into things, answer questions, or go deeper if anybody wants me to go deeper into anything. So let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so although most of the dragon fruit varieties are mostly white flowers, but the fruits definitely compensate for it. Now, there are some varieties that have more interesting flowers, and we'll see some pictures, and we saw the first one. But to me, basically the ones that have the white flowers are the tastiest. But when you talk about taste, it's extremely subjective. So whenever what I say is tasty, it's what I think, not necessarily what anybody here will think. Okay, we'll go to the next one, please. So what we see is really beautiful colors. And what happens with these colors when we go to the farmer's market and people see these colors, they expect some sort of explosion in their mouth. So dragon fruit, they are tasty. I agree they're tasty, but they're not as amazing as the colors. They're tasty, and some of them are, some varieties are very tasty, some varieties are very mild. But when you see this kind of colors, you think, wow, this is gonna be like, a strong flavor, like an orange or like a really good mango. Well, they're more like a berry, like a watermelon, kiwi. Some people say because of the combination of the soft flesh and the seeds. These are more comparable in terms of flavor. Okay, let's go to next one, please. Okay, so here we have an assorted, and we also grow passion fruit. So even though my wife told me to take it off because it has passion fruits, but I think it adds color to the picture. So we have here just an assortment of different varieties. We have in the center is white, and we have something that looks like white. It's actually it's light pink. It's a delight, very good fruit. And then the magenta, and here I did not have a red one, but over here you can see there are some dark red varieties. And again, assortment of fruits. And there are differences in flavors, but it's not completely different. It's more like, when you taste apples. So you got, I'm sorry. See, I shouldn't do that. Okay. Turn off the the difference is like if you have, a Fuji and a Honey Crisp and a Sugar Bee and a Pippin or whatever apple. So there are differences. Some are sweeter, some are more tart, some are combination sweet tart. Same thing with the different varieties of dragon fruits. But the difference would not be like a difference between, let's say, an orange and a grapefruit. Okay, so like I said, most of them are white, most varieties, but we do have These ones are the Asunta, and this one I think it's a Connie. Now the Asunta line was developed by Edgar Valdivia, that I believe was here, and Edgar is a much more experienced and speaker than me, so he's very exciting and he's a great speaker. So he did Asunta, and I think now we're up to Asunta number 7. I think someone is grafting right now, seedlings. So, but with the Asunta line, what happened, he was hybridizing, so crossing and then taking the seeds and selecting. And what happened with this is, if some seedlings were released that were not just, he did not release just one. So for example, some of the Asuntas, let's say, they have different version. Let's say on the Asunta 4 or 5, there are some that have red flowers or pink flowers, some that have white flowers. So because the seeds came from the same fruit, but they have different characteristics. Okay. So this is just actually this was a tasting that we did with Edgar. I think this is in Edgar's place. That it was. I don't know if people are familiar with Richard Lee. Richard Lee is a guy that runs a Facebook group called Grafting Dragonfruit, and I think it's up to 18,000 members, or he's very popular all over, and he does a lot of videos. YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. He does his own hybrids, and he puts out a lot of very valuable information about how to grow, how to graft, different things. So if anybody is interested in more information, look up Richard Lee Grafting Dragonfruits. He has tons of information about it. So there was in Edgar's house, there was Richard, Edgar, myself, and Paul Talley. He's a neighbor of Edgar here. He's actually more of a fig guy. So we just brought, each one of us brought a few fruits to taste, and then we just did a taste. And with Richard, as he's Richard, he took a video and then posted it on his channel. So we can see, let me see on let's get there. Sorry. So we can see here, we have, we can see that some we have different colors, different sizes, and some fruits like the Coney here, that is small. Actually, it depends, because Coney can be also large, and this is a medium, and we have also much larger fruits than this. And it's supposed to be white inside, and this is overripe. You're supposed to pick it green, which I missed. And then usually this variety, if you wait, then it gets overripe and the seed starts sprouting. It doesn't taste great, but for whatever reason, that's the second one that we picked over the. I mean, this I picked maybe last week, and I picked another one today. It was pink inside, tastes great. Unfortunately, I didn't have it in the samples, just this one fruit, because I don't have a lot of plants with Coney. But I was very pleasantly surprised, because before I was looking at Coney as just a beautiful flower, and yeah, fruits, okay, no, not so great, but I was pleasantly surprised actually today when I picked one of the fruits.
You're talking about Coney Meyer?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
one of my favorites.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I thought it was like, just another white, but I was completely incorrect. I mean, this year, it blew me away. It was very, very tasty. Let's see, we have San Ignacio, okay, we'll see this other varieties. I think I have slides for varieties, so we can talk a little bit more about each variety. So, Vaughn. Okay, so, okay, that's okay. So just to mention some names of people that are actually important people that did a lot of work with dragon fruits. Main person, first person Paul Thompson, he's no longer with us. He was a pioneer. Most of the fruits that are like the public domain fruits are hybrids from Paul Thompson. It's just that Paul just named them as seedling S1, S2, S, and so forth. And then these varieties got into, I believe it was Pine Island Nursery in Florida, and over there they just got the cuttings and they just renamed them. That happens a lot with varieties, and they gave some creative names like Physical Graffiti, Haley's Comet, Voodoo Child. So someone was probably taking some recreational stuff when he was naming these varieties. But so Paul Thompson, he wrote the book on I think it's called the Dragonfruit, a promising new crop for. And then another person, I didn't put his name, Leo Manuel. He actually distributed. He took and made the book together from Paul's information and distributed. And Leo also passed away not too long ago. And he also had quite a few varieties. And he dealt not only with dragon fruit. Also, Paul Thompson was one of the founders of the California Rare Fruit Growers. Now, Eckhart Mayer, that's the person that he was an epi guy. He created the 3 red flower sisters that are dragon fruits, the Coneymeyer, the Bruni, and the Ketiva Vanarum. So, and he also passed, he's no longer with us also. Then Edgar, sitting with me, that's actually my cousin. We're doing another tasting in my place. And hope that Edgar will stay with us for a long time. I mean, he's up there in age, but so now with COVID, he doesn't really. I think I told him about that, but he tried to kind of stay at home and stay safe with it. It's still COVID ramping around, but he's doing fine. He just stopped by like a few weeks ago to visit, and then Gray Martin, he created his own varieties. He's the largest grower in California. I think he farms about 30 acres down in San Diego County. He has some in Temecula. He has some in Valley Center. He has some in Fallbrook, I think in Rainbow. I don't know which portion is the largest one, but he's kind of he's opened up lately, but he was for many years he was more secretive about his varieties and his plants. I think he's opening up more. He also does a lot of YouTube work. A lot of it's also interesting to look at what he has to say. Gray also, he's coming actually from the field. I think he probably has a degree in plant science. Probably a graduate, if not more than that degree. He also was, there is an avocado that is named after him, the gem avocado. So he worked in avocados for many years, and then he moved to dragon fruit. And then there are a lot of other, like I mentioned, Richard Lee, that is doing a lot of stuff. There's some other people that are doing new hybrids, and a lot more people that are trying to grow. Now, when people come to us and they want to buy plants, cutting, they want to start their own farm, I try to convince them that there are easier ways to lose money. But if people, if they insist, yeah, we sell the cuttings, but it's anything agriculture is very difficult. So all our neighbors where we have the farm, everybody is on 20, 40, 100 acres. I don't think a single person is actually making a living off the farm. Everybody does it as a hobby, or maybe pays a little bit of the property tax, not even the mortgage. It's very difficult. Go next. Okay, so basically, most of you know, especially I saw that Ramiro was here before. So it's a tropical cactus. It's in the jungle. It climbs on trees here. It climbs on our trellises, and I can discuss later the different ways to do trellises if anybody wants to grow them. Let's look at the next one, please. We have a picture. Okay, I have like two pictures here that are not mine that I took from the web. So this is how they look in nature. They just climb in the jungle. They climb up the trees. And, let's go next one. And here is another way to do it in Vietnam. Actually, that's how they do it in Vietnam. The picture I think is from Malaysia, but this is one way, and a lot of people that are backyard growers tend to do it in pots with either a 4x4 or a drain pipe or some other material where they grow it like a tree. So it's going to be a trunk, and they will have between 1 and 4 plants going up, and then there's some sort of a construction on top, either rebars, some netting, just a square from 2x4s, tires. There are a lot of different things where the branches would come through them, go down, and manage it like a tree. That's mostly in Asia, that's how they do it. Here, we do it differently, and we're doing it more as a hedge, like you grow grapes. And our logic is land is a lot more expensive here, so we try to get higher density planting, so to get more crop per acre. So that's why we do it in rows. The flip side for it is if we have a long row, like let's say 100 feet row, and then there's a flower in the middle, and then the flower in the next one, or fruit, same thing. Then you have to traverse the whole row and go back in the other row. So this one you can just go between the plants. So there's advantages to this system, but I think the high density wins for here. Okay, so dragon fruit is really like Ramiro Noble is on the poster there. He's really pushing it as an ideal crop for Southern California, especially with today's drought. The dragon fruit takes about between an eighth of a tenth of the amount of water that would require to grow avocados, which in our area, the main crops are avocados or citruses, mainly lemons. So, and that's also, and I verified these numbers with people that grow both. So,
Just curiosity, if you have dragon fruit on the ground, how often do you water that?
we water generally once a week, and we have drip lines. So we have built-in emitters, and I think it's half a gallon per hour, if I'm not mistaken, and we run it about an hour and a half. That's it. So very little water. When you water avocados, you water them for like 8 hours.
How tall of a trellis should one have to grow dragon fruit?
Depends on your height. No, basically, okay. We do 6 feet, which most people do shorter, and not because I'm tall, but because I thought, okay, it gives me a little bit more vertical real estate, so more area to grow. But generally, people tend to do it so you don't really have to reach, depending who picks them. Between 4 and 6 feet, this is standard. And then you need, I mean, we're not doing a good job in trimming it's just so much work. We have about 5,000 plants, so it's tons of work. But I think after this season, we're gonna really hack them, because I think we will want to have less fruit and bigger fruits. and it would be more manageable for us. So I think that's part of the plan to make changes.
So cutting it down vigorously would basically ensure bigger fruit. Is that how?
Yeah, that's true for any fruiting plant. Let's say you have a plum tree or a peach tree. A plum, they produce tons and tons of flowers, and if you don't thin them, which unfortunately I do not thin, again, it's an issue of time. Is also saying, oh, I'm going to lose all these fruits or whatever, but actually it's better. So if you have the time to think, you get bigger fruits, and you do not need 500 tiny plums. I mean, 200 good-sized plums is plenty.
Okay.
So that's also true for these guys. If we don't thin them, we get a lot of smaller fruits.
Okay. Can I say one thing? That
Sure.
Most epiphytic plants grow from the tip. So by tipping them, it won't grow any longer, and then it'll send out side branches. So in order to maintain the height, we would cut things going up, and then they would put out side branches.
Yeah, well, basically the thing is the ideal is to have maybe a branch going up, but that's more true for the single post, the kind of trunk or branch going up, and then like maybe 4 to 6 branches coming down. When we do trellises like this and we have wire in between them, then it makes sense also like to espalier to put side branches, not only the top. And there's a misconception, and you saw it like in the pictures from Vietnam. It looks like it's almost like only on the branches growing down there's fruits, but that's not true. I don't know if I have pictures showing. A lot of times when we put like new plants, because the bottom is the mature wood, then you'll have right at the bottom you'll have actually fruits where you wouldn't have it in the tops until they get more mature. So, but later on, when the plant is mature and you have your branches that coming down are mature, then it will produce fruits, and then also you'll have more sunlight coming through, and you have more ventilation, which is always good. And like Ramiro says, you want to keep balance between the plant material and the fruit. So you want the most fruit per biomass for the green growth. And that's why also we don't do a lot of nitrogen, because nitrogen they'll just go crazy, and you'll have beautiful, gorgeous green plants, but not a lot of fruits. So it's better to have small plants, maybe even, and you see it's also the lighting, but you see a lot of yellowing here. So yeah, it's in the summer, they're suffering a little bit, but if we'll cover them, then they'll look beautiful, but less fruits.
How about with potash? Do you put any potash?
Yes, so we put actually the last, we haven't put it, probably Friday we're going to put fertilizer, so we're going to put actually 13.70 46. So we put a lot of potassium to encourage the growth of the fruits, flowers and fruits. Now there are people, other countries, like I'm from Israel. So in Israel, all growers grow under shade. I don't know if they use 30 or 50% shade. And I was told that if you don't use shade, that's it. They cook and that's it. We're lucky enough that we don't have to do that. Now we do grow the plants, and the young plants we do grow. We used to grow them outside, and they'll really suffer in the summer. So now we propagate our plants under shade. We have about 12,000 square feet of hoop houses with shade. But we have, in the beginning we had like no fruits. Now we have very little fruits under the shade. So when you bring them out full sun, yes, they do suffer. Like we had several weeks where like really hot, and so we would lose a lot of small buds. If the buds just really small, they'll fry. But medium-sized buds will survive, and the fruits, some of them will cook. That's true. If they get overripe and you open a fruit sometimes, as inside you could see the heat damage. So it's either white or kind of black inside, and sometimes you can see that fruit is really soft on the outside. You can see that, but sometimes there's no signs. You just open it, and there is this black. So sometimes there's also discoloration. But for us, no shade is both more economical, and it works. Now, there are people, I know of at least one farmer in Ramona in San Diego County that he grows out in the shade, and he's very happy with it. But he doesn't use shade all the time. He uses shade part of the time. So I don't even know how he does that. To take off the shade, to put the shade, it's way too much work.
Do people actually who are growers cull any of the fruits to make the rest of the fruits bigger, or they just nature does that for you?
No, for us, I wanted to. Again, it's time. So, and you need to know when to do it. I mean, there are different methods. You can thin the buds, and I didn't make any pictures, but sometimes you see a picture, and you have like one branch, you will have like maybe 10, 15 buds. It's not going to support 10, 15 large fruits. Now, sometimes if there are 2 or 3 buds together, it'd still be large fruits, but not that many. So the only thing is, if you thin the buds, then what if you get a heat wave and the rest of the buds just cook? So, or if you pollinate and something, and we'll get to pollinations soon, but if you pollinate and something don't take, and the one that left did not take, so you have no fruit. So I think it might be better to wait until you see that the flower took, and then remove some of them. And there are other things, and I have a slide looking at what you can do with buds. No, but that's before the open, actually. So, okay, let's go for the next one.
So we have like a plant that's not quite mature yet. It's maybe grown 5 feet, but hasn't started to umbrella. If you get a flower bud, would you want to prune off the branch growth that come out, or would you let the branches grow out while that flower bud is still developing?
Okay. Technically, you're supposed to let the plant first grow and forget about buds, but I'm not able to actually, even if it's a young plant, to take off the bud. It's like, well, I want to taste it. So, but to do it right, yeah, that's how you're supposed to do it. Let it grow, let it get established, remove extra branches, remove buds, and maybe the second, third year, then get the buds after the plant's established. If you can do it. I couldn't. So in terms of a dragon, we already talked about it. Oh, see here we can see 4 that were supposed to be thin, but they're pretty good size. They're not humongous. So maybe if I'll drop like the 2 center ones, maybe these fruits will be, instead of this being maybe, it looks like maybe 3/4 pound to a pound, maybe it'll be 1.5 pounds if we'll move it. But so this actually shows that they can grow and you can have all the fruits, but it's better. But then also if it's rotted, then you get, especially when you grow commercially, the fruit can be deformed a little bit for the pressure, so it's better to actually remove them. Okay, so low water use, we talked about it. We can grow in full sun, Southern California, or shade. Some areas need shade, and depending on location. The fruit have very high nutritional value, and we have a slide for that a little bit. We didn't go deep into this. And supposedly high commercial value, meaning that the fruits are expensive. You go to the store, fruits are expensive. Unfortunately, it does not trickle down that much. I mean, yes, it's better. Okay, I have my neighbors have lemons. They stopped picking. This year, basically, they said they're not going to pick anymore because the cost of picking is higher than what they're going to get for the lemons. So it's not as bad with dragon fruit, but still, it's not even half of what you see in the stores, the prices. Unless it's fruits coming, and sometimes you see great sales in the stores. Like I've seen fruits, the white one or the yellow coming from Ecuador, I've seen them for $1.99 a pound. But usually the quality is not there. So when I talk to people, I cannot compete. It's not only me. Any grower in California, we cannot compete on price with imports, with fruits coming from Ecuador, coming from Mexico, from Nicaragua. We can compete on quality, on taste, any day of the week, but not on price. And that's a big, because most buyers, not necessarily end buyers, not consumers, but buyers for grocery chains, they buy on price. So that's tough. This year has been very tough on the wholesale side, for me at least. Okay, next one. Now challenges. Oh, and actually let's look at the picture. So the way our trellis system, which I'm not saying it's better than any other trellis system, it works for us, is basically T-posts, and then we have wires, so the posts are 4 feet between the posts.
The wires don't cut the branches?
No.
No.
Okay. Every once in a while, if a fruit is sitting on the wire, you'll see a little bit of scar or branch you see, but it doesn't cut. You see the plants are doing fine. We get fruits. You see the fruits over there. Mostly no problem. It's not. Once in a while there will be a little bit. So some people say, "Oh, put plastic." Yeah, you can protect. You can put a hose on it or whatever, but you can do it when you have only a few plants. If you have that many plants, it's not feasible financially. So this works. This is the simplest system. The only expensive part of it is that we use a post per plant, and that's to basically give the strength. A lot of growers have like 2 posts and then several plants in between. That's a cheaper way, but this is stronger. Now, I thought this is important. Now that I'm thinking, if you, as a grower, if you keep the plant very light, maybe you don't need that. Now we have 8 feet between rows. At the time, I thought we started with 6 feet. It was way too close. I put 8 feet. In hindsight, maybe 10 would have been better. I wanted to squeeze a lot of plants into every acre, because here I can go with my ATV, but to go with a John Deere Gator or something bigger, a tractor, it's hard. So in hindsight, 10 or even 12 feet would have been better spacing, but live and learn.
You know, on the lower right, there's one flower, but at the bottom of that flower, you have about 4 or 5 branches coming in from the main branch.
Yeah.
Most people would cut that off because they
I
want
would.
everything to grow on top.
That's
do you
good.
let that thing grow and mature? The
We
branches.
we should. It's just a matter of time to maintain. Because this thing, you start pruning, you finish the first block, you go to the second block, the first block already starting, by the time you finish the second block, the first block already starting to put new shoots, so can't wait. You have to constantly do it. And actually, these would produce fruits and, flowers and fruits, but we'll try next season to do a better job on maintaining, on pruning.
Yeah, because of what you see on Facebook, like, on Facebook, everybody's doing that umbrella look. Everything's on
Yes.
top. They cut off whatever it's at the bottom. So.
Yes, but this is a different system.
Yeah, well, that's what I was asking.
Yeah, so but still, the one in the bottom should be go, but still there should be some, if we can tie them up to the wires going in between, then they'll have support, and they can also fruit there. But the ones way at the bottom, we should cut them. And that's, I think beginning of the season, we try to cut and then they just grow. That's why we put less nitrogen, but still, if you put, and for a while we're putting 0 nitrogen, thought it was enough nitrogen in the soil, but then they start the yellow, some of it because of sun, but some of it maybe because of nitrogen. So we start putting a little bit of nitrogen. So, yeah, so you get also more vegetative growth, but you need to find a balance. So back to the system, you could see the hose, our drip system. So that's the hose that goes a little bit above the ground, so the critters would not bite into it. Usually haven't had too many problems when the hoses are like this and there is the wire. But hoses that we have on the ground, sometimes coyotes would go and bite into them, or squirrels, or any other issue, any other pest. And a big problem that we have are gophers. So each one of the plants we planted in a gopher cage, basically chicken wire basket made out of chicken wire. But these things last for a few years and then they disintegrate. Now, so we moved into now planting in the plastic pots and making slits on the sides so the roots can go out still. But then there's an issue with irrigation, because this way, the way we have it here, we have emitters every foot, and then eventually it will wet the area and the roots will go there. But if we have it in pots, then the emitter has to be exactly over the pot. So we have to do external emitters, and if we do that, we have to put them, so we did that for every plant, but with the sun, with the heat and heating and cooling, it moves actually the lines, the black lines, so the emitters move in and out. So actually we do have to add another tubing from, so the irrigation line, the main line could move, but still the emitter would be in the pot. So I'm thinking we keep trying different things, and I'm thinking maybe we'll go to some compromise where we'll do the baskets but with bigger holes, not just slits, but holes, so we'll have the gopher protection for longer time. People say that eventually, if the gophers are persistent, they can eat into the plastic, they can eat into the chicken wire, depending how persistent they are. But at least it gives some protection. And then if we do the plastic with the holes, then even if we get the watering outside, it will leak into where the center of the root is. And that's important for when the plants are young. Later on, when they shoot out the roots, it doesn't really matter. Okay, move to the next one. Okay, now disadvantages of growing here. So California, cost of land, or houses, or both. It's hard to compete with other areas, other locations, because I don't know that any other place that the land is so expensive. Then cost of labor, because everything is expensive here, so labor would be too. Water supply. Although dragon fruits are, they don't need a lot of water, but they still do need water. So our bills right now run a little over $1,000 per month for the water bill, which is nothing. If we put the same 5 acres of avocados, it would be probably like 10,000 or 5,000 at least. Now the season is shorter compared to Florida, for example. So because of weather, it's not the ideal weather because these guys are from Central America, more humid. The climate is warmer. They don't have cold winters, so our season is more limited. But the advantage it gives us compared to Florida, because Florida is much closer to Central America, where these things are native to. But when you're closer to the native condition, you also have more pests that are the regular pests. So here our fruits are cleaner. We have less issues with pests that they have in Florida, for example, or in Central America. And I mentioned the competition from imports.
What are your thoughts on night breaking treatment?
On what?
Night breaking treatment. It's a technique that they use in Taiwan where at midnight they turn on lights for an hour or two to change up what the plant thinks is summer and winter?
I think it's more, if you do the lights, it's more, I think the plants respond more to temperature and not only to light. So you also have, like in our winter, you also have to heat, and that's, financially, it's not feasible.
No.
Now, yeah, you see pictures in like Philippines
Yeah.
or where they're trying to extend. We have enough light as it is, I think. So I don't think we have issue with production, the amounts. We have other issues. We have the competition issue. That's the biggest issue, I think, for growers, for commercial growers. I don't know that artificial light would really make a big difference. I don't think so. I think it's not worth it. Now, I had some thoughts about, since we have the shade houses, I thought, okay, maybe because we don't have any winter fruits, so to go for the paloras, for the yellows, these are kind of winter fruits. But looking at the prices that they are brought here, there's no way. It's not going to be financially feasible to do anything with it, so it's not worth it. So I just dropped the idea. Okay, nutritional benefits. So again, we see the vivid colors, and the next slide's actually next one. So this is from a quote from pubmed.gov. In the dragon fruits, I didn't put the whole list, but dragon fruits known to having antioxidants, as you can see by the colors. The way the sugar in the fruits work, it's worked differently than other fruits for diabetics. So it does not spike or raise the blood sugar level as much as other fruits. And then they say about the cancer, I'm not sure, that's a quote from them. I had to do more research about what exactly, but there was a quote that I got from the .gov site. Next one. Okay, so now we can discuss how I'm doing on time, because I don't. I have not, because I can go into.
We normally try to quit by 9 o'clock.
So what is it now?
I mean, you still have the taste test, so.
Yeah. So I have time. Okay. Not too much, okay. So we'll go quickly through the varieties. So let's go for the next one, and I have slides for different varieties. Okay, physical graffiti. Physical graffiti is one of, if not the strongest plants. It's a very prolific, very resistant to disease and to cold, and great variety, self-sterile, so it does need pollination. But we actually pollinate every single flower, so it doesn't really matter. But I know a farm that they pretty much grow only physical graffiti, and they grow any other variety just as a pollinator. So they definitely have to pollinate. Flavor, it's slightly less sweet, more on the kind of sweet tart. Great, I think, again, subjective, great balance between sweetness and tartness. And that's one of my favorite fruits. Next one. American Beauty, my favorite. It's, and unfortunately, the tasting that I have here are physical graffiti and Haley's Common. I didn't have time to get American Beauty. We have fruits, but for the tasting, we didn't get time to cut. It's very sweet, but also has tartness. It's different than the yellow ones you see in the market. The paloras come from Ecuador. They're sweet, but they don't have a lot of things other than sweetness. And when I tell people, I say compare it to if I give you a glass of sugar water or I give you a glass of orange juice, we know which one is going to be sweeter, but which one is going to taste better by most people's opinion, not necessarily everybody. So American Beauty is sweet and physical graffiti, but if you get a good fruit, if you picked right, it also has quite a bit of tartness to it. So much stronger flavor. This is, I think, one of the strongest flavors. Next one. Delight. Delight is light. It looks like white, but it's actually light pink. It's can be very sweet. It has this variety. It's a little bit more tricky because the window to pick it is shorter. I mean, if you pick it too early, no flavor. Pick it too late, no flavor. You got to pick it right, and the flavor is very subtle. It's very sweet, but it's kind of milder. It's like when you compare white peach to yellow peach. So the white peach is sweeter, but it's kind of a milder flavor. Like for also same thing, pomegranates. I love the light pomegranates, but a lot of people want the strong, tart, kind of strong pomegranate flavor. So the light is more subtle flavor. Yes. Haley's Comet, also a great variety. It's kind of, in terms of sweetness, tartness, it's kind of between the Physical Graffiti, and it's not as sweet as American Beauty, but and it's sweeter than Physical Graffiti. But it's, if you get a really good piece of Haley's Comet, it's amazing. It's really good flavor. The plant is strong. It's more susceptible to some issues like fungus or whatever, but large fruits, this is a small one, large fruits, beautiful fruits, and the plant is the stems are very thick, strong plant. I forgot to mention the American Beauty. It's a great flavor, but in terms of the fruit, thinner skin, so commercially being shipped, it's harder to ship because it bruises much easier, and it's more susceptible to cold and sun, so the branches are much thinner, and a lot of times in the end of summer they look terrible. They still produce, but they really look bad. El Grullo looks very interesting. That's the flower that we saw in the first slide. Gorgeous flowers. The color is dark red. The taste is one of the worst, in my opinion. Frankie's Red. This is a variety. It's extremely slow grower. It's very sweet, extremely slow grower, and it's very small fruit, very sweet. It's, but it's not really commercial, and even for a backyard grower, it takes forever. Okay, Voodoo Child and Sugar Dragon. It's sometimes really hard to distinguish between the two. They look very similar, both the branches and the fruits. The Voodoo Child is a lighter color and has actually a little bit of thorns sometimes on the outside. So when you pick a Voodoo Child, you can feel it's a Voodoo Child. But Sugar Dragon is sweeter. I think in terms of flavor, Sugar Dragon is considered to be a very good pollinator. There's no real research for it, but it's considered to be a standard pollinator. Very sweet, very tasty, but I still think that the Voodoo Child is tastier because of the little bit more tartness. San Ignacio, this is my favorite red variety. It's more susceptible to cold, so we suffer more cold damage. And if you want a sweetness, you gotta wait until it's super ripe, but then it's very, very good. Large fruit, beautiful fruit. Valdivia Roja, I used to think that this one doesn't have much flavor. So this one, if you pick it a little bit early, not that it's completely red, that it will have a little bit more tartness and a balance between tartness and sweetness. It will actually taste pretty good. Flowers, kind of like the one before, very beautiful flower. But the fruit itself, it's not very pretty. Coney Mine. So, yeah, this is how it's supposed to look. Like you pick it, it's green, inside it's white, and flower is beautiful, flower is red. And I used to think that this is a flower is beautiful, fruit not so much, but lately, like today, basically, I picked them. We have an example here. This supposedly is way overripe, Coneymeyer, so it's supposed to be white, but actually, and at this time, usually the seed will start to sprout because it's been on a plant for too long. But actually, I was very surprised today. We tasted one that was even darker than this, and it was very, very good. So, and the fruits, the other, it's one of the three sisters, the Connie, Bruni, and Katie. That's the best one out of them, the largest fruit. And right now it looks like that I'm convinced that the flavor is pretty good. So that's really a nice one to have. Okay, next one. I think that might be. Oh, Israeli yellow. Okay, it's called Israeli yellow. It's because it's not native to Israel. The Israelis found it in Central America, took it to Israel. It's very popular in Israel. It's very beautiful fruit. It's very unique. The yellow skin and it's white inside. We have one example there. However, the flavor, it's pretty much tastes like Vietnamese white. It can be sweet if it's super ripe. I don't care that much for the flavor. Okay, other things that you can do with dragon fruit. So if you want to thin the buds, that's what we did. So you can make stir fry. It actually tasted pretty good. It's just an idea. Okay, so flowers open at night, one night only. So all season long we have quality time at night, going and pollinating the flowers. Now lately, last few days only 4 flowers, so no big deal. I run with the ATV. Still have to run through the whole 5 acres, but okay.
Oh, just want to talk about pollinating. You use like a paintbrush or?
Yes, not a paintbrush, like a small makeup brush. After I finish my makeup, then I go and so, but 4 flowers, no problem. 40 flowers, no problem. But the peak of this year, we had a couple nights over 5,000. We went to bed at 6:30 in the morning. These were very, very long nights. Ooh. And also when you have 1,000 flowers, I mean, and some people pollinate later in the morning, but I'd rather go to bed at 6:30 or 2, whatever, than wake up at 4 and then try to rush and beat the bees.
Yeah. Is there any difference in size in terms of pollinating it early versus pollinating it late in the morning?
I think I want to think that when the flower open early and first of all you don't have to chase the time until it already started morning and the sun is up and it's going to get dried out, and so I think you have more time to pollinate, and other than that, it's just kind of a preference. And again, I prefer to finish with it, go to bed, and hopefully wake up late.
You haven't seen any changes, any differences in size?
Oh, and sizes, I did not test it. I don't know. I did not test it.
I was watching a video from Spicy Exotics, and they were saying that if you pollinate like between 10 and 11 at night, that the fruit's going to be a lot bigger when you make it.
I cannot attest to it. We do that, and we have small fruits and big fruits. To make a claim like this, maybe you need to actually do a real trial with control groups and whatever.
Yeah, that was
I don't know. And people also say that if you pollinate different pollens on different flowers, you can get different fruits, also affect the fruits. I don't know what we do. We collect whatever is available at the time, mix it together with the hope that something would work. So I don't know which pollen would work on which variety would work on which other variety and which one would not. So hopefully in every time that I touch the small brush, it probably has like several grains and probably have millions of cells of pollen, so one of them would work, and that's all we need. Okay. And that's just when we do, usually at night, as we see, but there was one morning, I think we were too tired, right? I think we were just way too exhausted to pollinate at night, so we did it early in the morning, and then it was kind of hazy. It was really nice to see, and not just to everything is dark. I think that's it. Yep.
Very nice.
Would you have time to just talk a little bit or quickly on fertilizers? Because you talked a lot about how nitrogen made it.
Okay, fertilizers. So I don't know exactly, but what we try to use is beginning in the season we want to encourage some growth, whatever. We'll use nitrogen, but then later on we'll use things that would be pretty much more potassium and very little nitrogen. That's our method. Now we try different things like I think people use for avocados Arcadian kelp. Tried it. I'm not sure that it made any difference.
You also pollinate or use the pollen for the ones that are self-pollinating? You also go after the fresh?
Okay, I do not subscribe to dragon fruit being, except for the whites maybe, and not all the whites. Dragon fruits are being self-pollinating. So my philosophy is that every single flower, regardless of, we pollinate. Now with the self-pollinating, it's probably, I kind of use the example of cherimoyas. If you have a cherimoya tree, you don't pollinate, you'll get 2, 5, 10 fruits. If you pollinate, you get 200. And they're going to be bigger. So that's what now, even if people claim of something being self-pollinating, I think if you cross, you'll have more uniformity of the size, bigger fruits and better fruits. If you don't pollinate, even if you get fruits, in general, they might be smaller and less uniform.
I have a question. Are you taking the pollen of the plant and putting it back on the same plant?
No.
You're mixing your pollen throughout all the different types?
Because some varieties are so fertile that they can use their own pollen, and some varieties are not.
But I mean, you have different hybrids.
So, yeah. So
are you keeping your pollen of that hybrid with that hybrid?
No. We do it simple. Usually we go and pick up whatever pollen is available that night, and that's going to be for tomorrow night for the fridge. And we use last night's pollen that was collected to pollinate tonight.
And it gives you the same fruit as the mother plant? Then it doesn't matter what pollen gets it?
They're different, usually yes.
In theory, if you're mixing it, you're hybridizing if you were to grow the seeds. But the fruit comes out tasting consistently
The fruit's supposed to be the same. The second generation would be hybridized, which we don't care unless you're going to. But
You would
just
have to
eat
grow
the
the
fruit.
seed to get a different plant.
But some people claim, and I've seen some pictures, some claims of people say, I used X pollen on Y fruit, and I got one, and the fruit looked one way, and if I used Z pollen, it looked different. I haven't tried. Some people claim that, but for me, I haven't seen that, but it's not that I'm looking for it. Any other questions? What's the time? Finally, huh? Okay, perfect. So we have some tasting of fruits. So we'll just get them out from the cooler. And we have two. What? You want to put that? Okay. So we're just going to put tablecloth before.
Take the top off.
Yeah. No, okay. I thought you would take it.
Yeah, no, I think recommend people to keep speaking because otherwise okay. Something else. Anybody that can here, they can grab one. If you want to buy more than anybody can grab a fruit, one fruit per person. That's included in the price. They're different. Here, they're mostly Haleys. Yeah, they're mostly Haleys. No, this is American Beauty. Yeah, but these ones, it's mostly Haleys with maybe here and there American Beauty.
It's okay.
Okay.
I got it. I got it.
That's what you said?
What's that? Come on.
Okay, well, I'm home from the meeting. We received some complimentary dragon fruit from Eyal, the meeting presenter. This, I believe, is called Halley's Comet. This is American Beauty. And these two I paid for per pound. And they were $5.99 a pound, so they were about $4 a piece. This one here was a little less. It was about $2. So for the 3 of these, I paid about $10. So that's pretty interesting. I don't know that I'll ever attempt to grow any dragon fruit, but it's interesting to learn about them. And they're in the same family as Epiphyllums. As you saw from the slideshow, the flowers are beautiful. So I did have a Connie Meyer cutting. At one time, I was trying to grow that for the flower, not necessarily for the fruit. And unfortunately, my plant didn't make it, so I don't have much of a success growing dragon fruit, but, you know, the flowers are beautiful. Delicious fruit, beautiful flowers. I don't know, I think it would take several years to get fruit from one of these if you bought a cutting. And I certainly do love the fruit. The fruit was absolutely delicious, so we'll be enjoying this fruit for the next couple of days. Okay, take care and have a real pleasant rest of the day.